everyone, my name is Isla. I'm a 22-year-old biologist and I decided to uproot my entire life and move to a lighthouse on an island off the coast of Wales. So without further ado, I figured I'd show you around my lighthouse and the island and we can have a good time. So follow me. Now, before I take you inside, I just want to apologise in advance for the absolutely loud, annoying terns that are squawking around outside. It is actually my job to look after the terns. If you haven't seen my video on that, then check out my last video on my channel. But they will be squawking throughout this video, so please ignore them. I find them lovely and I hope you will too. So now that I've closed the door, you can actually hear it's a little bit quieter in here, so I get a little bit of peace and serenity from the loud terns. But this is basically the entranceway, and the entranceway consists of 3 doors. The one where the camera is leads to the kitchen. This leads to the bathroom and storage room, and then downstairs we have the basement. This is our kitchen, dining, eating and working space, as we only have one real communal space. Now in here we have all of our food stocked up for the next 2 weeks and possibly longer in the event that we don't get a restocking boat. We will have to survive on everything we have here, and this has happened in the past. We may be left 2 to 3 weeks without any other human contact. This is where the magic happens, aka where I cook all of our meals. I basically cook everything on this induction stove with literally 2 hobs. It's a little bit difficult trying to batch cook, but I kind of make do with what I have. We also have a microwave and a very tiny oven that doesn't work very well, and it also uses lots of power, so we try not to use that. This is my favourite spot. We have these little chairs that sort of rock. But this is my nice little comfy space. I like to read my Kindle here and do some work and eat my food, and I basically spend almost all of my time that I'm not outside in this chair, and I'm so glad that we have it. Also right next to me here, as you can see, is the Skerries documentation. So this includes all of our codes of practice, a lot of facts about the species that we're dealing with here, and also the logbooks from our previous years. This right here is our table where we eat and do our work, and we have the RSPB provided workbook, so all of our biological data gets put in that. And this is the most important thing that we own, which is our logbook. And so every single day I or Sophie will put in an entry that basically describes what we have been doing every day. So for example, we found some dead animals. Here's the birds that we found, a nice little drawing of a nest I did. And this is really important because this basically is going to describe what we were getting up to the people who are going to be doing it next year. And basically it's a guide for when to, for example, start studying certain things. And if there's any issues, they can look back and be like, oh, we had that same issue. And so it's kind of helpful. And here are the plants. So because I wanted plants, I have a basil. I'm making sure that these spring onions stay fresh by putting them in some water. And then because I was bored, I decided to start propagating some basil, so you can see the little roots are coming out already. This is how we get fresh drinking water. Now if I flip this switch here, a very annoying pumping sound comes on and we get this tiny little dribble of water that comes through, and it can take about half an hour to fill a 2-litre bottle like this. The water flows through this, which is a reverse osmosis pump, which means that even though the water comes from a rain system, it is clean and safe to drink. We have tons and tons of storage like you would in your normal kitchen. The only problem is that our fridge / freezer is pretty tiny, so it makes storing any fresh food a bit of a faff. You might say it's overkill to have this many spices, but I wanted this many spices. And if we go to the other side of the kitchen, we have the bathroom / storage area. So this sad little chair in the corner of the room is all of my field gear, which is now absolutely covered in poo. I live from the future here. If that's what you think a lot of bird poo looks like, well, just take a look at what my fieldwork clothes look like now. Yes, I know, it's pretty damn disgusting. I basically have a fleece jacket, waterproof trousers, waterproof coat, a couple of pairs of gloves, another hat. But this goes here. We don't really want it interacting with any of the indoor space, so I pretty much take everything outside, put it in this chair, and it stays in the chair. This is our nice little storage cabinet with everything from paints to tools, our protection. We've also got some gull scarers as well, which are basically air horns that if there is a gull running around causing havoc, we play one of the air horns and they're pretty loud. We've also got a parasol that we're going to be sticking up so we can sit like we're on the beach, except we're not on the beach because there's 2,000 terns trying to poo on us and it's to protect us from being pooed on. And right next to that is this dingy little room. In here is our water heater. We basically just have to press a little button in there and that turns our water heating on. It doesn't work very well. If we turn the water heater on for about an hour, we'll get about 3 minutes of hot water. It uses up quite a bit of electricity, and when you're a solar / off-grid system like we are, it's a bit of a faff to be using up so much energy. However, we have had sunny days for about 3 weeks and no rain, so we're actually running with the problem of not having enough water but having enough electricity, so it's a bit weird to try and manage it here. Ta-da! Toilet space. We have our toilet and our toilet bucket because we don't have enough grey water to flush the toilet every time, so we are doing it in basically the way that most countries who don't have access to running water do. We have a bucket of water we fill from the well and this, and we flush the toilet manually using that. Sink, self-explanatory, and the shower, which doesn't run for a very long time. The last thing I wanted to show you is this funky little guy here, which is a UV filter. Now we have a filtration system outside, which I'll go show you later, but basically all of the water that comes through that then goes through this, which treats it with UV light, which hopefully kills off anything nasty in it. And whenever we turn on the water, it basically gets pumped in here somehow and goes through it. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not a water specialist. Anyway, I think I should show you the basement. This is our spooky little basement. And you need a torch to see down here. We have a slightly creepy underside of the room. I had no idea this was here. I haven't really been down here much. Creepy little room over here that we don't use. The main thing that we want is in this even creepier room, which is full of spiders. And this is all of our power banks and electricity monitoring. So we basically, oh, would you look at that? 100%. We're on 100%. So this tells us how much power we have, which means that the solar today is charged to 100%. Hell yeah. In case you're wondering what it's like when I turn the lights off down here, that's all I can see. And upstairs we have the bedrooms. This is my room. It's pretty basic, and this is my super comfy bed, which is not surprising considering the fact that it has a mattress topper and a really thick duvet and a blanket, which I insisted on because I was not going to stay somewhere for like 4 months without some creature comforts. All of my clothes and other stuff is just stored here. I've got some books, got some M&Ms. Pretty much it all fits into this one tiny chest of drawers. The other slightly odd thing about my room is there is no curtains, but I did actually find 2 old bed sheets, which I have literally just hung up against my window, and they block out some of the light because the light is pretty harsh in here, as you can probably tell, because now I'm just a black blob on the camera. I've also been painting this sort of white area here because the lighthouse was really in need of a touch up of paint. So that is why I've still got loads of crap like this laying around my room, and it's quite dusty and disgusting. Another slightly weird thing about this place is that there's about 6 beds just stored in the cupboards here. So I just have this lovely mattress, which I just couldn't be asked to put in a cupboard, and then in the cupboards that are behind my bed there is like 3 other mattresses, and the inside of the cupboards is like really mouldy, so that's why I haven't been in there. So that's basically it for the inside tour of the house. I guess the next thing to show you is around the island, so let's go downstairs, put on my PPE, and let's get going. Okay, so this is the courtyard. This is the area in which we go into our house / the lighthouse. This is specifically an area for the RSPB wardens to use, so the Trinity house people who manage the lighthouse don't really come up here. The only real thing of interest here is this behind us, which is sort of our outside generator space, because in the event that we run out of our lovely solar power, we do have a generator that should hopefully boil as a kettle and keep us from dying. And the other slightly important thing here is these beautiful stairs, which have been absolutely caked with years and years of tern poo. But what's so important about these stairs is that they take me over this wall and allow me to get to our solar panels and our filtration system. So, you know, let's go that way now. And come along this way. So this is our solar panel and water filtration area. You can see behind me we've got both of these black tanks, and they have a weird little system that pumps the water between them and also through the filters. And then in the ground below we also have another water storage area. The other important thing to note are our solar panels. This is what gives us our electricity. So we're kind of praying for sunny days because that will mean that our power gets back up to 100%. The one slightly annoying thing about our solar panels, and indeed our power system, is that we can only use 20%. So when our power usage gets to about 80%, it goes into what's called floating mode. We have no electricity until the solar panels charge it up again. So we have to be super duper careful about any electricity that we use. Oh, and also these are not our solar panels. These are used for the Trinity House side of the lighthouse. And in case you're wondering, this is the amazing view from the solar panels. Here is another one of the important areas for us. I believe it's a grade 2 listed building. It's supposedly the oldest separate keeper's cottage on a lighthouse on an island in Europe, something like that. Rather boringly, we use this to store all of our turn boxes and some other materials for when we're building stuff around the island. So let's go check it out. I mean, it's a shed. It's not that exciting. There is one more shed I can show you though, and I don't really like that one because it's full of spiders and I hate spiders. This is the other shed, what we call the garden shed. It is absolutely filled with spiders and I hate it. And because of that reason, I'm not going in. I should also probably mention this thing, which does not belong to us, and this building, which also does not belong to us. This is the well. This is the asbestos garden. We don't go in it because it's filled with asbestos. This is the helipad, in case one of us dies and needs to be airlifted out. Now, if you come with me, I've got another really cool thing to show you. Tern terraces. These behind me are our roseate tern terraces. These were built with a specific design in mind, and they are intended for use by the roseate terns. And when I tell you it took us days to put out these boxes, I mean it. There are so many boxes. Okay, just to orient you, here is a map of the Skerries. The lighthouse is here, the sheds are here, and the well is here. Now, we have lots of different islands on the Skerries called compartments or comps, so I'm now going to show you comps 6, 7 and 8. So this behind me is another one of the compartments. It is comp 6. It's right next to the lighthouse. It's pretty small and round, and there's not much activity going on it. The gulls don't really nest there. I've not really seen too many terns here, so a bit of an uninteresting component. And now this crag of rock behind me is comp 7, which is right next to comp 6. The gulls are really clever and they know that they're not supposed to nest on comp 6, otherwise we will have to remove their nests. So they've all just moved to comp 7. And moving on to the final main component. Behind me is comp 8. Now supposedly this is where most of the puffins have their burrows, but I've not seen that much evidence of that yet because it's pretty early on in the season. Now, another interesting fact is this behind me actually is a walkway / beach at low tide. So normally we can walk across and go to the other side. And the other thing here is one of the landing stages. So when it's really high tide like this, you can't really land at the main landing stage. So we have to go to this one. I should also mention that whilst it isn't illegal for people to come onto the island, I wouldn't recommend it. We have signs out saying, can you please not come on because there are breeding birds, you're disturbing the colony, and also there's a high risk of avian flu at the moment, so we really don't want people running around and increasing the risk of avian flu to all of the local species. This is where the boat drops us off. This is the main entrance which we come up. Annoyingly, it's a really long way up to the lighthouse, so whenever we have shopping, it means we have to haul everything all the way up this slope. Anyway, let's move on to the next segment. So for orientation purposes, the lighthouse is behind the camera and this way are the rest of the compartments. So right now I'm standing on compartment 5, which is where the lighthouse and everything else is based, and this behind me is compartment 3. And the cool thing about compartment 3 is that we have to get to it via a little bridge. This is compartment 3, which is pretty much the largest compartment. Now, we've actually seen the most puffin activity here, contrary to previous years, so I wonder if it's going to stay that way or they're all going to migrate back over that way to component 8. Comp 3 also marks the end of the gull-free zone, and we know it's the end of the gull-free zone because we have these little sticks in the ground. We draw imaginary lines around them, and anything this side, we don't want gulls in it. Anything this side, we want gulls. We want them to breed, we want them to have babies. In fact, today is the first day that the gull chicks have hatched. Oh my lord, they're so adorable and fluffy. I fell into a rabbit hole. So we are at the end of Comp 3. The gulls are very annoyed at me. You can probably hear them all squawking, but I've got one last thing to show you, and that is Comp 1. So behind me is component 1, and it can only be reached at a really low tide, but there are some super cool things on that island. So some of the cool things that you might find on component 1 are our razorbills. They are absolutely lovely, and I've seen them mating, so fingers crossed we're gonna get some razorbill chicks. There's also a lot of gull eggs on there, so I can't wait to do the gull survey. And just in case anyone was interested, we had a total of 706 herring gull nests, 140 lesser blackback, and 39 greater blackback nests, which is actually a huge improvement on previous years. The other cool thing that we spotted at the moment is there is a crow nest. Now, crows are natural predators of the terns, but either way, I'm really excited considering that the first baby hatched yesterday and it's already growing up and looking like it's been fed well. Since this video is a month old, I can confirm that the baby crow has finally fledged. We called him Glumptious, or Glumpy for short, because he was so ugly as a chick, but now he's fledged, he is a lot more beautiful, and I hope he's having a good time. So I guess that's the end of this video. I have taken you from one end of the island to the other, and hopefully you've really enjoyed sharing this experience with me. If you like this video, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, and that way you can be the first to know when I make some more videos about my life on the Skerries. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! If one of us dies, it needs to be airlifted out. I'm so hot.